Not long ago I found myself in a lively debate over tea. Why do Christians worship on Sunday? My Adventist friend insisted the Sabbath Saturday remains the true day of rest, rooted in the Ten Commandments and Jesus' own practice. Another friend, influenced by modern Judaizing movements, argued that Sunday worship was a later, even pagan, corruption, severing Christianity from its Jewish roots. The discussion quickly moved beyond days of the week to the heart of Christian faith. What changed when Jesus rose from the dead? Was it just a new idea, or did it remake the world, including our understanding of time and worship? The earliest Christians, all Jewish, revered the Sabbath. For them to gather on Sunday was a radical shift. This wasn't a casual change but a response to something world-shattering. Their new practice declared in the very rhythm of their week that a new era had begun. The debate left me pondering, what does Sunday worship really proclaim about the resurrection? It's not just about a day, it's about a new creation breaking into history. The Christian faith stands or falls on the resurrection of Jesus. On the first day of the week the tomb was empty, and the disciples encountered the risen Lord. This wasn't a return to old life, but the launch of God's new creation. Sunday became the day Christians gathered, not to mourn a dead hero, but to celebrate a living Lord. Meeting on Sunday was a weekly proclamation, He is risen, the world is different now. The old creation ended with Sabbath rest. The resurrection on Sunday signaled a new beginning. The shift wasn't a rejection of Sabbath, but a declaration that its promise was fulfilled in Christ. Sunday became the anniversary of hope, the day the new world dawned. Worship on this day was a bold statement. Death is defeated, and God's new age has begun. The resurrection redefined everything: time, worship, and the very fabric of reality. Sunday worship is a living reminder that the future has already broken into the present. Early Christians called Sunday the Lord's Day, a title loaded with meaning. In a world with emperors' days, calling Sunday the Lord's Day was a declaration. Jesus, not Caesar, is king. The New Testament shows believers gathering on the first day to break bread and share offerings. This wasn't just a new synagogue meeting, it was a new kind of gathering centered on the resurrection. The breaking of bread, communion, looked back to Jesus' sacrifice and forward to the coming feast in God's kingdom. Sunday gatherings became the anchor of Christian life, a weekly reminder of their new identity. It was a foretaste of heaven, a moment when the future touched the present. By meeting on Sunday, Christians weren't following a rule, they were living out the resurrection story. The Lord's Day gave meaning to every other day, shaping the rhythm of their lives. Their worship was a tangible experience of the good news new life had begun. Sunday became the heartbeat of a people transformed by the risen Christ. Early Christians saw Sunday as more than the first day. It was the eighth day, a symbol of new creation. The seventh day marked the completion of the old creation. The eighth day pointed beyond, to something radically new. In Jewish tradition, the number 8 signified new beginnings. Circumcision on the 8th day marked entry into God's covenant. Baptism became the Christian parallel, bringing believers into the new covenant on the day of resurrection. The 8th day wasn't just a continuation, but a transformation, the start of God's new world. Sunday became a weekly festival of hope, celebrating life over death and the victory of Christ. This idea shaped worship and even church architecture. Octagonal baptismal fonts symbolized the 8th day. Entering the waters of baptism was stepping into resurrection life, dying to the old and rising to the new. To be Christian was to live in the reality of the 8th day, a new creation already begun. Sunday worship was a constant reminder. God's future is breaking in now. The 8th day theme captured the heart of Christian hope, renewal, transformation, and the promise of ultimate fulfillment. The 8th day pattern runs through Israel's festivals, foreshadowing Christian Sunday worship. The Feast of Tabernacles lasted 7 days, but ended with an 8th day, Shemini Atzeret, a final celebration in God's presence. Christians saw the 7 days as this present age, the 8th as the joy of the world to come. Hanukkah too lasts 8 days, commemorating the rededication of the temple and the miracle of light. These festivals pointed to new beginnings, light overcoming darkness, and God's presence renewed. For Christians, the 8th day of these feasts found fulfillment in Jesus, the true light and the source of ultimate rest. The 7+1 pattern became a theological language for resurrection hope. The first day, the 8th day, was not random but the culmination of God's ancient promises. Sunday worship was rooted in these patterns, proclaiming the arrival of God's new creation. Ancient Israel's worship centered on temple sacrifices rituals that pointed to a greater reality. The New Testament declares Jesus' death as the final, perfect sacrifice, accomplishing what animal offerings never could. His sacrifice opened a new way to God, making the old system obsolete. The temple was replaced by a new temple, the community of believers filled with the Spirit. Worship shifted from animal offerings to offering ourselves living sacrifices of praise, service, and generosity. The Eucharist became the memorial of Christ's once-for-all sacrifice. Sunday gatherings were the new temple, the place of God's presence and people's transformation. Worship on the Lord's Day was not just a new schedule, but a new kind of worship made possible by Christ's victory. The cross and resurrection redefined what it meant to draw near to God. When we connect these threads, Sunday emerges as a bridge, fulfilling and transforming its Jewish roots. The Sabbath celebrated God's creation. Sunday celebrates God's new creation in Christ. The eighth-day theme unites old patterns with new realities: covenant, renewal, and resurrection. Early Christians, all Jews, made this shift because they believed Jesus fulfilled every promise. Sunday became the weekly festival of hope, a foretaste of the world to come. It's the day we declare, Jesus is Lord and new creation has begun. The story of God's faithfulness reached its climax not on the seventh day, but on the eighth. Sunday is the day that changed everything. A perpetual celebration of resurrection and new beginnings.